Hello guys, welcome along. I hope you're doing well. We are back in Microsoft Flight Simulator for another video in the PMDG 737-800, and I've got something slightly different for you today. I'm going to be starting a series of quick tips where I give you a short sharp tutorial on a feature within the aircraft that you might not necessarily be aware of. And we're going to kick things off with the crossfeed procedure for balancing our fuel tanks. And we're going to be discussing the wing fuel tanks. So obviously we also have our centre fuel tanks, but they are currently empty in order for us to carry out this particular procedure. But you can see roughly where our fuel tanks are located by the black lines on the wing, and that's actually the cold soaked fuel frost area, but it illustrates quite nicely roughly where our wing tanks are located. And obviously we've also got the same on the left wing. So why do we need to balance our fuel tanks then? Well, as you can see, we've got an imbalance between the left and right tanks of about 600 kilos, and the acceptable limit for real world ops is 453 kilos, so obviously we need to rectify that. Now there's a couple of reasons why the imbalance might happen within the sim. For example, if we've been sitting on our stand with the APU running for an extended period, obviously the APU only runs on the left aft fuel pump, so that could create an imbalance. Or equally, if we've had to do a lengthy taxi, maybe on a single engine, that could also do it. So let's go through the procedure then to the overhead panel, and let's focus on the crossfeed. And what we need to remember is the tanks we're going to isolate correspond to the lower number on our readout. So our tank showing 2.95 tonnes is our left wing fuel tank, so we basically need to isolate our left fuel pumps. So first of all, we need to turn the crossfeed valve to open and wait for the light to confirm. So let's do that, and there we go, valve is open. And just before we turn off the fuel pumps, we just need to make sure the engines are behaving themselves. That all looks fine, so we're good to switch off our left fuel tanks. And there we go, we get the low pressure warning, and we'll also get a master caution on the fuel, which we can just reset. Okay, let's focus on those fuel levels then. Now we've isolated the left hand tank, that number on the right should start coming down to match what we have on the left. So essentially both engines are being fed fuel from our right tank only. Right, so let's start monitoring those fuel levels then. The number on the right should start coming down. In fact, it's already down to 500 kilos. That should keep dropping. It will just take a minute or so, but that should just keep dropping. There we go, 2.97. We're aiming to get it down to 2.93 so that it matches the left tank. And actually, rebalancing the fuel tanks is probably more common in a real world flight than it is in the sim, mainly because engines never run exactly the same. They burn fuel at slightly different rates, all that kind of thing, and as amazing as the PMDG is, it can't really model those levels of detail accurately. Okay, so we're down to 2.96 tonnes now, so just probably 250 kilos to go or so. And that's 2.95, so I think what I'll do is I'll let it get down to 2.94, then maybe wait sort of 10 or 15 seconds, and then we can switch the fuel pumps back on. Okay, so that's 2.94 then. So let's just give it a few more seconds before we switch the fuel pumps back on. Right, that should do it. So back overhead then, and let's switch our fuel pumps back on. Wait for the low pressure lights to go out. There we go, and we can switch the crossfeed valve back to closed. And there we go. That's all looking good. So back to monitor our fuel levels then, and as you can see, we now have 2.93 in both the left and the right fuel tanks, and the engines seem to be all running as they should. So that concludes this quick tip for the PMDG 737-800. If you've ever wondered why you've got a fuel imbalance during a flight, you can hopefully now fix it relatively easily. Thanks for watching, I hope you found it interesting. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.